A nasty storm is raging above, and the Stanhope, our resupply ship, is being tossed around like a toy in a child's bath.
Sealab, this is Stanhope. Captain Madden standing by.
See if you can get him on the screen.
Coming in, sir. Captain Murphy, if I stay on mooring, my ship will founder. The storm is building.
I understand, Captain. Do what you have to do.
Sorry we didn't get a chance to unload your supplies.
A short delay won't matter.
We'll be back after the storm passes. Good luck. Thank you.
All they have to do is unhook from that buoy. I've never seen how a full-size supply ship does it, but the way the dive boats I've been on do it, the boat pulls up to the buoy and someone grabs it with a long hook. Then they hook one of their ropes to it and put it back in the water. The buoy is solidly anchored to the bottom, so it keeps the boat or ship from going somewhere. To unhook, you do the same operation in reverse.
Get some slack in this line. More slack. The winch is jammed.
Unless that's happening, in which case you may need to cut something to get loose. Then again, the storm may have its own ideas.
That's the pressure drop alarm. It's a red alert, Sparks.
Right now, the issue isn't water coming in through that crack. It's air going out through the crack.
Wilbur, I'd better get to the bridge and check with the captain. I'll talk to you later about whatever it was you wanted to discuss. I think we've got a major problem elsewhere. Continue with your assignment.
That alert means we better check fast and find out what this is all about.
I wonder what that dull thud was just before the alarm, Gail.
It sounded like something hit Sealab.
And the most effective way you three can be useful in finding out what happened is to stand there and talk about it instead of jumping into the water. Everybody knows that. They have to maintain a certain air pressure, not only to keep the inhabitants healthy, but to keep the water out so they can use things like the moon pool.
The meters show that pressure is dropping at a dangerous rate. The moon pool is overflowing. Seal off all passageway entrances until we can build up enough pressure to force out the water.
It's a big problem because obviously they only have so much air. Their extractors can produce as much oxygen as they need, but since oxygen is only about 21% of a normal atmosphere, they don't have a way to make up the other 79%. Building up to a higher oxygen content is a bad idea because beyond a certain depth pressure, oxygen is deadly. We still don't know how deep this complex is, but the reality is it doesn't matter. They have to get that crack fixed. Some people are putting plates over it from the inside, and others are welding on it from the outside.
Hello, Gail.
Hello, Mrs. Thomas.
Class, you have 10 minutes to finish the history quiz. Then comes a test on outer space. Go.
How can I concentrate on outer space when there's so much going on down here? Let me see now. Rings of Saturn.
How long do we stay in business?
Forever, we hope. The captain wants you to keep the class going.
Tell him not to worry. I'll see their minds are occupied.
By the way, remember Wilbur? He's been trying to get through to someone on the radio without success.
Trees. Trees? What do you mean? Green grass and trees, and live flowers. How long since you walked on grass, Hal?
They have an entire horticultural section where they grow plenty of green stuff. Sounds like Wilbur needs to spend some time there.
9 or 10 months, I guess. Why? A man's gotta be able to walk on green grass once in a while. Sure, Wilbur. Why isn't Joel down here? He's supposed to relieve me. Joel's in the infirmary. Oh, yes, of course. He's being operated on, isn't he? Yes, Wilbur, that's right.
Is there a therapist in the house? I think Wilbur needs one.
Some oceanauts get green fever under stress, Hal.
As long as things don't get worse, it'll pass. But inform Dr. James and keep an eye on Wilbur.
By the way, the oxygen converters just crashed. No idea how long it'll take to fix them.
Captain, Dr. James wants to know if he can use an oxygen tent.
Is it critical?
It would help Joel's recovery from his operation.
That could be a problem. Any ideas, Paul?
Have the doctor move the patient to the horticulture section. The oxygen that the plants give off will help.
That depends on how big the section is, how many plants of what kind there are, and how much oxygen each one can produce. The reality is, it can't hurt. They also have a long hose with a snorkel on it, and they'll try to send it to the surface.
Airline free and clear, sir, on surface.
Good. Start pumping air.
Fresh air coming in, sir.
Yeah, the meter shows a steady flow. Keep it pumping full capacity.
This is a fairly common snorkel. In waves like that, it's not exactly useless, it's counterproductive. A wave swamps this part and you get a mouthful of water if you try to inhale. There are what are called dry snorkels. They look a little different. They have a special ball cock up here that closes off the tube if it goes under the water. They don't always work, ask me how I know. But I assume that thing of theirs has some kind of check valve that keeps it from sucking up water when it gets swamped.
Something's wrong. Look at the needle.
The line must be fouled up, cutting off the air.
Unfoul it.
I can't. The surface valve is broken. I've lost control of the unit.
Look what's happening. The airline's reversing itself.
There's that good old air under pressure again. Too bad it doesn't have some kind of valve to prevent that. And I hope all those papers it's sucking up and scattering on the surface weren't too important. Captain Murphy stuffed something in the hole to stop the leak. The snorkel retired to Miami and was never heard from again. Their next move is to get the kids to safety.
That's far enough, Simba.
That's Deep Diver, their main sub. It has enough air to sustain them for about 2 days. Currently, repairs should only take about 12 hours, but the way this day is going, we aren't taking anything for granted. In the OR, the doctor has finished operating on Joel, and the nurse and orderly are taking him to the horticulture section. At least the air scrubbers are back online, but the carbon dioxide levels are rising anyway. Paul has ordered everyone to buddy up with someone else. Nobody is to be wandering around on their own. Find a partner and keep an eye on each other. Wilbur understands that.
It makes a lot of sense what the captain is doing.
What's that, Wilbur?
Buddying everybody up. We start losing our oxygen, and some of us might pass out.
We shouldn't exert ourselves either. That causes us to breathe harder and give off more carbon dioxide.
You're right. I'm gonna take it easy.
The way he talks, I think he usually pals around with Joel. You get the feeling Joel is important to him.
That's Joel. He's dead.
No, Wilbur. He was just operated on.
We're being punished for tampering with nature.
They're just taking him to the horticulture section.
Man should be where he can see green grass and blue skies.
Wilbur, let's go see Dr. James.
We're all going to die unless we stop what we're doing. We gotta stop.
Wilbur, come back here.
He's gonna do something really stupid, isn't he? Suddenly, he's entering the reactor room. You know, where all their power is generated, the thing that really keeps them alive. The captain issues a bolo for Wilbur, but he's a little late. Wilbur already has his plan formulated.
Wilbur, hey, don't!
I've worked on a lot of computers, from laptops to much larger. I have never had occasion to beat one with a hammer. I think Wilbur may need more training. They only have a certain amount of reserve power, and after that, it's going to get mighty dark in here. When I was about 14, I got the idea that I should know my house very well in case I ever lost my sight or got caught in total darkness. So I would walk around the house with my eyes closed, sorting out where everything was using my other senses. After this little adventure, Captain Murphy ordered that everyone in the complex start doing the same thing, because you never know when another Wilbur will turn the lights out unexpectedly.
Al, I want you to go to Deep Diver. Take the kids up.
Yes, sir.
Make sure you follow the recompression schedule before you bring Deep Diver to the surface.
Recompression? I think he means decompression. The bends is a colloquial term. It's actually called decompression sickness or decompression illness, depending on where you are. The kids are under pressure now, so they need to follow some specific protocols to go up and decompress without getting DCS. I do give this show credit for trying to sound authentic, but another week or two of research might have helped avoid mistakes like that. While Ed looks after the kids and the captain heads to the reactor room, Paul will search for Wilbur. That was Ed that just dove in so he can head for Deep Diver. Wilbur was shocked to see that Ed's face shield had shattered because he dove in head first. Wilbur pulled him out and picked the glass out of his face. Everyone hailed Wilbur as a hero. For a reward, they brought several rolls of grass sawed down and let him walk on them.
Now, you all were supposed to study Kipling's poem, If.
Oh, excuse me. Don't let me interrupt the class. Go right on.
Is everything all right at Sealab?
Well, there are a few bugs that have to be worked out. Meanwhile, I'm taking you all to the surface.
We're not going.
Now, Bobby.
We're not going to leave our fathers and mothers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we don't want to go. We don't want to go. We want to stay here.
Ed, you have a small mutiny on your hands. He manages to get through to them that their parents can fix Sealab much more efficiently if they aren't also worrying about whether the kids are safe. Bobby finally agrees and the other kids follow his lead. Nobody's quite sure what Wilbur is doing, partly because nobody can find him. We don't know what he's doing because all we've seen him do is wander around trying to avoid detection. He's not very good at it, and Ed just chased him to the horticulture section where his friend Joel is recovering from his surgery.
Wilbur?
We're all going to perish, like Joel.
Joel is all right, Wilbur. He's sleeping after his operation.
Yes, Wilbur. He's just sleeping.
Go on in and look. Everything's going to be all right, Wilbur, see? He's alive and well.
You're lying to me.
1, why would they do that? B, take his pulse yourself. Check to see that he's breathing. Or 3, stand there like an idiot. Your choice. Things are gradually coming back online, and they now have both air and power restored.
Hello, Wilbur.
Hi, Joel.
No, I'm not going to do a Mr. Ed joke, mainly because I couldn't find an appropriate clip in time for uploading. So everything is back to normal. The kids have returned, the equipment is working, the storm has passed, and the Stanhope is above, ready to resupply us. What about Wilbur?
I'm sorry about all the trouble I caused, Dr. Williams.
Don't worry about it, Wilbur. After a few weeks on the surface, let us know if you want to come back.
Hey, Wilbur. How you feeling?
All right now, thank you.
Al, the Stanhope is steaming back into position above us. Will you put Wilbur through the recompression and get him aboard?
Will do.
The flip side of that is get him out of here. I think this is supposed to be a character study of Wilbur to illustrate that not everyone is cut out for this kind of life. But we spent almost no time on Wilbur. He complained about green grass, broke some stuff, then wandered around the place until his friend talked some sense into him. Meanwhile, stuff broke and the people fixed it. You know what that adds up to? Nothing happened. The 3 basic kinds of conflict in fiction are person versus person, person versus their environment, and person versus themselves. This is none of those because the repair stuff they did was SOP, standard operating protocol. They had plans in place to deal with a situation like this, and they did it with a calm professionalism that bordered on boredom. Boredom for us, that is. I haven't watched the rest of the series yet, but if there are more like this, I may yawn a lot. If we were trying to do a disaster type story, we failed. In the typical disaster movie or episode, somebody has to do something extraordinary to resolve the issues. The most extraordinary thing we did here was prophylactically evacuate the kids to the sub. If we were trying to do a character study, we also failed because we still don't know anything about Wilbur. We never looked into his head to see what motivated him to take this job, why he suddenly got green fever, how he feels after it's all over, and if the experience changed him. We know his name is Wilbur, he lost his marbles a little, and went home. That's not a character study. That's not a study or a story. It's dull. The show had real potential, but so far mediocre writing is holding it down. We'll keep going and see if that was the general case and speculate about whether that mediocre writing was the cause of the show's failure. Now, I'm holding out for the idea that Fluffy came along, kicked the humans out, and moved in. He especially wanted the control room so he could tune in a bunch of Irwin Allen shows and watch himself on TV. Depth pressure. Good grief, I'm doing great. Slow down. Okay, don't wave it around. Okay. Everything like that. Hey, you, yeah. Covering frame. Or C, stand layer. One word at a time, mouth. Versus themselves. How do you bite yourself on that word?